Ezekiel Elliott lost a significant decision tonight in the effort to overturn his 6-game suspension. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
I'm Clarice Tinsley, but Elliott is continuing with his legal challenges. Ezekiel Elliott got the news in federal court in Sherman tonight that an arbitrator who heard his appeal for the 6-game suspension imposed by the NFL for his domestic violence case upheld it. But
Elliott and the Players Union were in court to challenge the punishment, and they're now trying to get a temporary restraining order to put it on hold while the case then goes to the courts. Fox 4's Allison Harris has the details tonight from Sherman. Allison.
Heather and Clarice, that hearing lasted 2.5 hours, and about 2 hours in, one of Ezekiel Elliott's attorneys stood and said, "We have a decision from the arbitrator. That arbitrator has decided to uphold Ezekiel Elliott's suspension 6 games, but not so soon. This federal judge could change that based on his ruling on the temporary restraining order and the injunction." Ezekiel Elliott walked into federal court in Sherman without addressing cameras. His legal team is asking for a temporary restraining order to stop his 6-game suspension on accusations of domestic violence. The NFL is requesting that the federal court throw out his request. The judge for the Eastern District of Texas heard their arguments Tuesday and will make his decision this week. The judge is tasked with determining whether the process to decide his suspension has been fair. Elliott's attorney, who also represented Tom Brady during his Deflategate suspension, told the judge, quote, "There needs to be credible evidence of domestic violence before you wreck this player's career," saying Elliott was never criminally charged for the alleged abuse. Elliott's attorney said these pro football careers are short. Perhaps this is the Cowboys' year. But his greatest argument is that both the NFL and the arbitrator have not required Elliott's accuser, nor NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, to testify. The judge even said he read the investigative report produced by the NFL, and there seemed to be procedural errors in the accuser's interviews and concerns over what information was submitted to Goodell for his decision on whether to suspend Elliott. The judge said, "I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, but when you look at the series of events, you have to question whether it's fair." Representation for the NFL says the arbitrator has all of the facts and is capable of making a fair determination, saying if you get to manipulate the suspension, that is harm to the NFL. And this judge was pretty bold. He said he read the cases regarding Ray Rice and Tom Brady and Adrian Peterson and, of course, Elliott's case. He was asking NFL its policy on requiring these accusers to testify, saying that in Elliott's case, the facts seem different, and it seems there might have been some errors in the procedural process. The NFL says it cannot compel these accusers to testify. Ezekiel Elliott will play in the game against the Giants this week. He'll be able to practice this week, but moving forward, that could change. Again, that suspension is upheld, but it could change based on this judge's ruling. The judge has told that both sides, attorneys on both sides, they have until 5 o'clock tomorrow to submit anything further, and then he will have his decision by 5 p.m. on Friday. I want to read you this statement just tweeted out by one of Ezekiel Elliott's attorneys. It reads, "We received arbitrator Harold Henderson's decision to uphold Mr. Elliott's suspension of 6 games. We are extremely disappointed with Mr. Henderson's inability to navigate through league politics and follow the evidence and, most importantly, his conscience. The evidence that Mr. Elliott and his team presented on appeal clearly demonstrated that Mr. Elliott was the victim of a conspiracy orchestrated by the National Football League and its officers to keep exonerating evidence from the decision makers, including the advisors and Roger Goodell. The only just decision was to overturn the suspension in its entirety. Mr. Elliott is looking forward to having his day in federal court, where the playing field will be level and the NFL will have to answer for its unfair and unjust practices." Clarice and Heather.
Allison, thank you.